What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing another video. Today I'm bringing a video on Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel Episode 6. This episode is called Attack of the Galactic Ninjas. And the preview clip looks pretty interesting. The episode in general is one that people are very hyped for just because it sounds like one of the more interesting episodes we'll have in the spring half of the season. Of course, the fall is when we're expecting to get some really exciting stuff, but as far as the spring ones goes, this one is definitely one of the ones that we are looking forward to. So in the preview clip, there is going to be some romance issues occurring between Calvin and Haley, it looks like. And it's a misunderstanding, but they don't know that right away. So what does end up happening is that it starts off with us seeing Haley and Preston come into the school. Haley is wearing a new necklace and Preston's there with her, and he suspects something about what's going on here. And he immediately asks, like, where'd you get the necklace? But she basically shuts down the conversation and just says, Preston and I are going to do some homework together. So at that point, what does end up happening is that she goes off with Preston, and following this, Calvin looks upset. So then it switches to a later scene where Calvin is not eating his food, and the other Rangers are just hanging out, and they're all eating their food, but Calvin isn't. So that's important because what does end up happening is the Rangers ask him, what's up? Because you always eat your food, right, Calvin? Well, what does end up happening is that we find out that Calvin's pretty jealous and pretty concerned that maybe Haley is cheating on him. So what we do end up hearing from Calvin is that he thinks that the necklace that Haley had, Preston bought. Also, Haley called Preston my sweet, which kind of implies some sort of romance situation going on there, although it's still a misunderstanding. Again, we have to keep that in mind. So, following this, what does end up happening is that the other Rangers are like, no, it can't be true. Are you sure about this? And following that, what ends up happening is that Sarah goes with Calvin to go check on Preston and Haley. What we do end up seeing is that they are in the woods together. They're actually holding hands, which does imply something. You know, it makes you feel like, why are they holding hands? That kind of seems a little too intimate. Even that, although it's not that intimate, but, you know, you wouldn't just do that on a normal occasion. So what does end up happening is that we end up seeing them staring at each other, and Sarah and Calvin are watching. Following this, we hear it, but Calvin and Sarah do not hear it, is that it appears that Preston and Preston and Haley are actually reciting Romeo and Juliet. And the thing is that what we also learn during the lunch scene is that apparently ever since they joined a recent class, they've been sticking together and doing things with each other. So that's part of the reason why he's suspicious of things, which most likely implies, based off of the fact that they were reciting Romeo and Juliet, that the class that they're taking is probably an acting or a drama class, or an acting and drama class. So keep that in mind, of course, that is likely what's happening. But what we do end up seeing is that Haley gives Preston a kiss on the cheek, which makes Calvin very jealous and very upset because he's like, you see, look what they're doing. And it kind of makes Sarah worried too, because it's like, is she really cheating on Calvin? Well, as we know, that isn't the case. It's just a misunderstanding, and she's just portraying the role. And later on, Preston says, that's great, you did an awesome job. So that's what it was. But following this, a monster comes out from behind of a fake wall or background that he has, and suddenly goes to the Rangers that are there, which are, Haley and Preston, and grabs onto their heads. Calvin and Sarah try to warn them, but by the time that they realize that they are being warned, what's happening is that the monster's grabbing onto their heads, and suddenly some energy is coming out of the monster's hands. So that is interesting. What we do know as far as this episode goes, and I'm just saying this right now, that's basically the end of the preview clip, but what we do know for this episode is that there are other ninjas that are supposed to be in it, because it is called Attack of the Galactic Ninjas, not ninja. So clearly there are other ninjas, and likely that is one of them. What people are suspecting is that the ninjas are the monsters that are in the opening theme. If you've ever seen the Super Ninja Steel opening theme, I'm sure you have if you're watching this, there are 4 monsters that appear in the Warrior Dome in one of the opening sequence moments, and we end up seeing them with each other, and so most likely this is just one of them. So keep it in mind. We'll have to wait and see this weekend what does end up happening. We don't know anything for 100% fact now, but it is looking interesting. I'm definitely interested in seeing where things will go, especially with the Galactic Ninjas, because people are very, very hyped about this episode, since it sounds like a cool episode and it sounds like it's going to be very story based. We'll have to wait and see though. Obviously the Ranger story is less story based, but the villain story seems interesting. We'll have to wait and see. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I know that this episode is coming out this weekend, so watch it then, and I will see you guys in the next video. So until then guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye guys.